It's pretty agreed upon that fighting games are hard, like really hard. Even people outside of the genre will tell you that.
1000%. If you're a professional fighter, like professional Street Fighter player or whatever you want to call it, you're the greatest gamer in existence ever.
Round 1.
But something a lot of people don't realize is once you do get over the mountain of learning a fighting game for the first time, it gets a lot easier to transition your skills to other ones. In fact, it's pretty common for esports players to switch between games to compete in or play them at the same time. Now, I'm not saying you'll have that same level of success, but you'll definitely have an easier time than others with your previous experience. This is because the fighting game genre relies heavily on this one thing: repetition. The majority of fighting games share very similar mechanics. Motion inputs like shoryukens and hadoukens, the idea of building a meter and using that for special moves, getting counter hits allows you to do higher damage combos, even archetypes like grapplers, zoners, and rushdowns are pretty universal to most fighting games, so you already have an idea of what their strengths and weaknesses are. The downside to this is that with repetition comes boredom. There's only so much punching and kicking you can do before it becomes repetitive, and traditional fighting games don't have the luxury of creating fancy maps. Sure, you can create the illusion of one with fancy backgrounds and stage transitions, but in reality, you're still fighting in that same rectangle. But today, I want to talk about fighting games that completely flip the genre on its head, even the ones that make you question whether it's a fighting game or not. If you want to see more videos like this, then make sure to subscribe. It's free, and you can also see some exclusive ones here. But before we start, today's video is sponsored by Flash Party. Flash Party is a new free-to-play platform fighter available on PC and mobile. You can fight your opponents in a variety of multi-platform arenas by knocking them off stage and into the stratosphere. There are a plethora of game modes for you to choose from. You have the normal matchmaking mode, which has 1v1, 2v2, Brawl, Party Record, which is Soccer Showdown, and a weekend game mode that's only there for a limited time. Then you have Arena, which is ranked 1v1 and 2v2. Then there's Party Lab, which has Battle Royale. Again, that one's also time limited. Then you have Training and Local. You can unlock rare costumes and KO effects to show off as you play those game modes as well. What's really cool is that the game lets you choose your own combat style. The sticker book system rewards you with perks to upgrade your characters with. The more stickers you collect, the more options you have to customize your playstyle. There are plenty of unique maps to choose from, and you can play with your friends or meet some online. I actually played with some of you guys a couple days ago on stream. Get back over there. Get back over there. Now, I will say getting used to some of the mechanics do take a bit of time, but there are tutorials built into the game that guide you through everything, from general controls all the way to hero-specific mechanics. They also do seasonal events that have some enticing rewards for you to collect. They're always coming out for new content for you to enjoy, so make sure to be on the lookout. The brand new Stardust Warriors version completely upgrades this fun, exciting game. If you're looking to try a new fighting game, make sure to click my link in the description and start playing right away for free. Again, thank you to Flash Party for sponsoring, and I hope you guys enjoy the rest of this video. As you know, a large part of the battle takes place in the mind. You're constantly predicting what your opponent will do and thinking about ways to retaliate. I know people make this comparison a lot, but chess does have a lot of similarities in terms of predicting. The only difference is that you aren't predicting as far ahead in fighting games, and everyone's decisions are happening in real time rather than turn-based. But that's not to say you can't tell when it's someone's turn. For example, when a combo or block string starts, you know that it's that person's turn, and the opponent has to defend until they interrupt the combo or their combo finishes. But in a new indie fighting game called Your Only Move is Hustle, formerly known as Yomi Hustle, does a really good job of mixing both aspects of fighting games and chess. Right off the bat, you can already tell this is a turn-based game since everyone is standing still, but instead of alternating between turns, both players lock in their moves at the same time. Looking at the UI, every piece of information is laid out to you from the beginning like a chessboard. You can see all of your moves and your opponent's moves, which are divided into their respective categories: defense, super, special, attack, and movement. Each character has their own unique weapons and abilities, but since you can see the options that your opponent has, there aren't any surprises. You'll never get hit with something you didn't know a character had. What's cool is that it shows you a prediction of what could happen depending on the moves that are chosen. It even gives you the frame advantage, which allows you to gauge what move you might want to do next. After the battle is finished, it gives you a replay of the events in real time, and I gotta say, it looks pretty sick. Now, I can't talk about breaking molds without mentioning Smash Bros. It's the game that pioneered a whole genre, and also my career. By the way, if you choose to watch that video, it's at your own risk, okay? Now, you might have noticed that I said pioneer and not invent. And that's because a game called the Outfoxies came out 4 years ago before Smash did. What's interesting is that Namco produced the game, and they were later hired to help Nintendo make Smash Bros. Brawl. So to everyone calling platform fighters Smash clones, Smash itself is technically an Outfoxy clone. But in all seriousness, it's easy to see why Smash is the game that comes to mind when talking about platform fighters. Not only does it have 3D models where the Outfoxys didn't, it had notable characters and robust mechanics unlike any other fighting game at the time. If you look at the fighting games that came out during the late 90s, you can see a lot of similarities between the titles. But that wasn't the case for Smash Bros. And a big part of it comes down to accessibility. Sakurai developed Smash with the intentions of it being a party game, not a competitive fighting game. It's why you can have more than 2 players on screen, and why the game doesn't have motion inputs, and also why the combos aren't super long and execution heavy. Even the health system is a percentage and not a fixed life bar, which allows for more survivability because the only thing that can really kill you is the blast zone. Everything is designed to get as many people interested as fast as possible, and it worked. Smash was able to reach an audience that the FGC couldn't, and you can still see that today. Now, even though it wasn't originally supposed to be competitive, Smash has a very large competitive scene, and that scene is responsible for popularizing a very iconic move called wave dashing. Now, wave dashing didn't come from Smash Bros. In fact, it's been seen in multiple fighting games before then, but in Melee, wave dashing was a crucial part of competitive play. You could not keep up if you didn't know how to wave dash. This technique is what makes Melee's movement so snappy, and part of the reason why the game stands out and still has a strong community. In a similar way that Smash Bros paved the way for platform fighters, Virtua Fighter was essentially the blueprint for the 3D fighting game space. It came out in 1993 and was the first ever fighting game to use 3D polygons instead of sprites. Along with that, they also let characters roam in all directions, allowing for more realistic movement and cinematic camera motions. With more freedom, the game surprisingly had a simple control layout. It only consisted of 1 joystick and 3 buttons, 1 for attack, 1 for punch, and 1 for kick. They also introduced systems like having a dedicated block button, which is widely used by a lot of fighting games, and also the ring out system, which can be seen in games like Soul Calibur. What's really crazy is that this game not only influenced other fighting games like Tekken or Soul Calibur, but it gave Sony the inspiration to run PlayStation on a 3D engine instead of 2D. At first they were on the fence about this, because at the time 2D games were still at the forefront, but as soon as they saw how much success Sega had gotten from Virtua Fighter, they made the choice to go fully 3D. It's kinda funny, but Sega basically saved their competitors. If it wasn't for Virtua Fighter, it's very likely that the PlayStation would have fallen behind other consoles like the Nintendo 64, and who knows what the market would have looked like today. And finally, the most unique game on this list, Lethal League. Your main goal is to smack a ball hard enough that it KOs your opponent. Whether this game counts as a fighting game really depends on your definition, but since it's marketed as a fighting game, I've decided to add it to this list. And it does possess some fighting game elements. Everyone has a health bar and your goal is to deplete it. You can technically say the game has combos because the more you hit the ball consecutively, the faster it becomes, which results in more damage if it hits your opponent. But there's more that goes into the game than just hitting the ball. There are actually multiple ways to redirect it. You have normal swings, which increase the ball speed the more you charge them. You can angle it, but doing so before the charge will not grant you the charge. You have bunts, which can also be angled, but they can completely stop the ball's momentum to throw off your opponent. And then you have grabs, which can only be thrown horizontally and downward. They have another property though. As the ball gains more speed, the time between hitting the ball and releasing it becomes longer. This lets your opponent position themselves to immediately hit the ball right after. But if you press the parry button after striking the ball, it stuns them as soon as they try to do that. But also, if you know your opponent will parry, you can grab the ball right away. And by the way, the boombox at the bottom helps you time your hits by letting you know the speed of the ball and when it will release. But yeah, there's a lot of interesting tech that goes into making this game more challenging than just hitting the ball. Even that can be really hard sometimes though. If the rounds go long enough, the ball can get to ridiculous speeds. There you have it. Those are some fighting games that have found success in going against the template of traditional fighters. It's always good to see fighting games try something new. It's why indie fighting games are so important. It's rare to see established companies deviate from the formula, because if it works, why change it? But indie developers are already taking a risk with their game, so why not make something that stands out? If we didn't have indie developers, the variety of games would become stale very fast. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please make sure to like and subscribe. You can join my Patreon to get access to perks and extra content. Join the Discord to hang out with us. And I'm also doing another Mugen tournament, so look out for that. Follow my Twitter for updates, and I also stream on Twitch. As always, I hope you guys have a great day. Peace.